Hi, Heather. Welcome to the podcast. I also got to
Hello.
take the opportunity to thank Patrick for recommending you, bringing you on. Hi, Patrick.
Patrick
Any,
Johnston.
yeah. Uh, you're, what was the film that you did with Patrick? I forget. I saw it, but I forget the title of it.
um, The Architect's Wife was one that you, if you saw it, that would be the one that you've seen. And then we're also in a feature film together that hasn't come out yet. It's called From Mystery to Romance.
Oh, Mystery Romance. Okay, so it's another. Are you both playing a couple as well in this one,
No,
or
no,
okay?
no. I'm
You
kind
had to
of
give
like
him off to
a.
someone else.
Yeah, I can't really say too much about my character, but it's a fun one. It's this group that is at a mystery romance dinner, so they're all playing these parts of these characters. Um, but the host of it notices that the characters are taking it really too seriously. And
Mm.
then Patrick's character falls in love with the host, and yeah.
Okay, so
That's all I can
it's a
really
really spicy
say.
version of D&D. All right, I got it.
No, it's a family fun movie. So
Okay.
it's a something you can watch with your family and kids.
Well, go ahead and just briefly. I was looking at your IMDb, and you've been doing this for about 2.5 years, roughly. I got that
Yeah,
timeline right. Okay.
yeah.
Just go ahead and tell me how you briefly got into it and why you decided to. You know what? I want to do acting now.
Well, I started acting when I was 5 in theater, doing church plays and stuff. And then
I did too, but I was always just pissing people off, so I decided to be a writer instead. You know.
Um, I don't think I made anyone mad, but so my first acting experience was a church play, and I was playing the part of Mary, and I was supposed to pick up the baby when the music started. It was like the end of the play. It was like the only thing I had to do, and I knew it. I did it every rehearsal, but this time my parents were out there, my grandma, like it was a full auditorium, and I like froze. I just stared at the baby, and I could see my instructor like going like, you know. But after that, like, and people were like laughing and going, "Oh," but after that, it like sparked something in me that and I was only 5, but I was like, I want to do that again, but I want to do it right. Like, I don't want to freeze or mess up. So I just continued doing those church plays and any opportunity throughout school and high school. And I think it was my senior year of high school, I got a role in at a bigger theater outside of school. And then I took a long break and had family and my children, my older kids, and then I have 2 younger ones. But so just really didn't think it was in the cards, I guess, and I didn't. I thought I had to move to New York or LA, and it just wasn't going to
Mm.
happen. With I didn't know. I didn't know there was a whole film community in Columbus and Cleveland and Cincinnati.
You're based out of
Um,
Cleveland, or is it Columbus or Cleveland?
yes,
Okay, so it was
Cleveland.
Cleveland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I knew movies were come here sometimes, like the big ones like Avengers and things like that. I would submit to them even though I wasn't like actively pursuing anything and never would hear anything. um so 2 years ago, one of my acting friends from like high school, when we were in acting clubs and classes together, he had a movie premiere coming up, so I went to that. And then that's when I kind of found out, wow, all these people are local. Like, and then he encouraged me because I wasn't on Facebook. I was, I was, and then I went to nursing school and kind of just took a break from
Mm.
all the social media to focus on my studies. And he's like, you got to get back on Facebook. There's all these film groups. There's all these people making films. And so I did. And he kind of connected me to someone. And based on his referral, they let me do a voiceover for the film. And then that director asked me to be in another movie. And it just kind of, then you just start meeting people and then
Kind
it
of
just goes
snowballed.
from there. Yeah. And then, and then I discover the casting agent, someone had shared a post from the actor studio up in Cleveland. And I won this free weekend intensive, learn everything kind of thing about the industry and how to get an agent and all kinds of stuff. And that's called the Inner Circle with Angela Bohm. So I did that, and that snowballed as well. And then I continue taking, I've been consistently taking classes up there to for film. now
Okay.
that I'm doing film, because theater and film are so different.
Right, right. But most of your experience prior to like the last 2 years was primarily in theater.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So I had gotten back into theater before getting into film. So that, for a few years before getting into film, a couple years before COVID, and then COVID happened, and then I went to nursing school. So that was another, like, I just didn't think it was, it wasn't like I quit acting or anything like that. It was
Mm-hmm.
just like you just do life, and now this is life.
Right, right. Did you have a how was it a difficult struggle to go from the style of theater acting to short films with the degree of how you physically project your performance?
Yes, yes. That's a lot of the beginning of the classes I started taking was like trying to get that theater performance out. They're like, you're too big. I mean, I kind of feel like I am naturally, like I'm talking with my hands right now, and
Mm-hmm.
um and I was moving too much. I took some auditioning classes as well. And there's such an importance in being in not moving in that audition, because you're basically framed how we are right now. um, so you don't want to be moving too much. And that was a big struggle for me. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and to get these actor ticks out and everything, that if you're in a play, you have a good 6 weeks to to work on it and really get into that character, whereas film, you don't. So
Yeah, film.
anything
We
you
we
can
love to give
learn.
ourselves like the worst schedules possible when it comes to like time crunching and everything. We're just all right. We're gonna make a movie entirely in 2 days, and
Yeah.
hopefully you guys can memorize the entire script. Then that's that's the antics of indie filmmaking.
Yeah.
Um, about the on the note of the adjusting performances, what was the takeaway when it came to being able to project your facial expressions, contrasting with how you used to do it with more of your physical body when it came to with theater you're portraying to the back of the room as opposed to the
Yes.
audience which is 6 inches or maybe
Right.
a few feet away from the screen.
Yeah. So theater, it's big, big expressions, loud, big movements. And then, as you know, with film, it's less is more.
Mm-hmm.
Little subtle things that you need to learn to do to show the feeling and not tell the feeling. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and when you watch a great movie, you see it, it's there. You just don't know what it is that they're doing.
I forget who told me this, but it was like the art of acting on screen is really just the art of holding back what you'd
Yeah.
like to kind of do. So like there's this giant threshold that you're not letting it cross, but you're just letting enough of it surface to be able to give the audience the opportunity to read into you,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, because
yeah.
that's real life. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we don't go around showing everyone our feelings. We are actively holding back. Like, if we're nervous, or we're mad at someone, or we're really sad, but we don't want to cry in front of someone. So, like, that I think is a huge difference in a theater and on screen, and then also being more trained as well.
Mm-hmm. What was it
Is
like
Yeah.
working with the directors who are working in the medium film versus the directors who are handling a theatrical production?
Hmm. I would say with theater, there's more talk about your character and what do you think your character's feeling in this moment. Whereas film, there's not a lot of time to talk about that
Hmm.
beforehand, pre-production, because we're all like no budget, low budget. So like if you wanted to have these rehearsals and these workshops going into your film, you see that in the big budget stuff because they're paying their talent to be there. Um, whereas, yeah, so I think a lot of the difference between some of the directors I've worked with in film, they might send me information on my character, and that right there is like a step up from just getting the script. Or maybe we do a Zoom call and we talk about it more, and I feel like that kind of helps. It works in theater, so why wouldn't it work in film?
Ideally, from an actor's perspective, how would you like that conversation to go? Like, what kind of questions would you ask a director to be able to hone in on the things that you would practically be able to portray on camera for your character?
I think it would just depend on the script itself. Like, I'd probably want to know, has this character been in this situation before, or is this something new? if it's not already answered in the script, you know. So yeah, it would just kind of depend on that.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, you can find out by reading the script how your character's feeling or, and whatnot. But that could change, like if they're used to this, whatever
Mm.
they're going through. It could
Have
be
you?
different.
It's true. Have you noticed a boom, or not necessarily a boom, but at least a sizable and noticeable growth in the film industry? I can't talk today. That's great. I'm the host of the podcast and I can't freaking talk.
You can cut
um,
that part out,
I'll cut it out. Now I'll just put like some obscene like censoring
blur it
on
out.
top of it. Yeah, I'll just cut to a SpongeBob meme. It'll fix it all over.
Yes.
You can really slide those little puppies in anywhere, and there's just one for everything. It's great. It's um you when you were going from short film to your recent feature film, which I understand you can't talk about it too much. That's how it goes with feature films. But uh, what was the contrast that you noticed when it came to short film, like no budget production, versus this feature film that you've had to work on, and how much flexibility did you feel like you gained from a larger production, that you were able to be involved in?
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. Having more time with the character was great. That would be the From Mystery to Romance. That was probably my biggest role in a feature film. All the rest have been like day player, like smaller roles. So In the Hands of Fate, that director was really good at talking about the character, even though I just had that small part, but like it made such a difference. And he said he'd had people come up to him about my character and my scenes, about how they could really feel, even though they didn't have the backstory, but they could feel, they knew what she had been through. So that was cool. And so that's the difference between a short film and having more pre-production on the feature film, and then the mystery to romance one, just having that bigger character and just finding who she was leading
Does
into it and on
does
set.
having more
It's
room
just
to
great.
work with this character, does it make it easier or harder to actually
I think it,
flesh it out?
I think having more room, yeah, I think it makes it easier.
Makes it
Yeah.
easier.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's like with short films, you're basically coming out of a shotgun. It's like,
Yeah.
all right, I gotta come up with this, and then I've got to do a really good job at it because we only have so much time, and it's a short film, and hopefully it turns out really well. But the downside, which kind of is the premise of my question, is like, if you have more time to deal with something, you're also flooded with more potential possibilities that you might want to try out, or maybe flesh out a little bit and see if it works.
Oh,
Presuming
yeah.
that time, you end up having like this paradox of choice. If you
Yes.
have more time to explore things, and so have you had that experience yet, or is there something that's more, or do you feel like you're very decisive?
I do like doing a flexibility of the character, and then but knowing the character enough that if the director wants it a different way, I can easily adapt because I've probably already explored that side of the character.
Okay, tell me about the
Yeah.
favorite character that you've played to date.
Oh gosh. Gosh, I mean I really love them all. It's hard to pick a favorite.
If you don't pick with Patrick, it's the wrong one. No, it's just
I mean, I was gonna say, so my character's name is Olga in that, and I'm a roller rink owner of a roller skating rink.
mm-hmm.
And that was just really fun because sometimes like the humor was like, this won't give anything away. They asked, so how did you get into that job? And it's just like a real job, a real dry, I applied. And like, so I had to do some ADR, and that was one of the scenes. And it was so funny to see that. And like, and then her reaction to, oh, okay. Like, because I didn't elaborate on, my character didn't elaborate. So it was fun. I'm sorry. I don't even know if I'm answering your question, but yeah, I'd say Olga was one of my favorite, from the mystery to romance. So that's with Patrick. Architect's Wife, I mean, that was really fun. Gosh, I think anything comedy wise is definitely going to be my more favorite roles, I think.
Do you think it's more freeing to do a comedy because you get to
I
like
think
just kind
it
of do a little
is.
something a little more absurd?
Yeah. And it's so funny because I've always noticed that I've always had you, people might you to prove yourself in drama before you can do comedy, or if you start off in comedy, it seems like you need to like prove yourself in comedy before you can move to drama. Like
Mm.
I just think of like Adam Sandler. Like look how long he did the comedy, and now
Or Jim
he's
Carrey
proved.
for that matter, you
Yes,
know?
yes, exactly. And then I think it's the other way around where Jennifer Lawrence, I feel like she just did all drama and then she did that comedy. Can't Hardly Wait. Is that the name of it? No.
The one that I
Where
saw her
she
in was like the one where she was like the older woman in the
Yes,
relationship.
yes.
That one, yeah,
Yeah.
that's what
And I
sticks out in
thought
my
she
mind.
did phenomenal in a comedy role. Like that's she but so anyway, my point is like so I did speech and stuff in high school where we go and competed. So um it's basically it's acting. So like everybody calls it like speech interpretation or forensics or speech and debate, but I wasn't giving a speech or debating, I was performing. So I wanted to do comedy right off the bat, and they're like, "We're going to put you in drama for a year, and you need to prove that you can do drama before you can do comedy." So I did that, and they're like, "Yes, you can do comedy now." So I got to do comedy.
You
I
paid the
only did a
price.
junior and senior. Yeah, I did a junior and senior year. Proved myself to do the drama. Now they let me do the comedy, and I did way better in the comedy. But I was also second year, so you can't say like that's why. But um, yeah, so yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. Sorry.
Are you good? It's a roller coaster. Like this is. I mean, I'm interviewing you, but you know, it's just a podcast. It's not like you know we're on Joe Rogan or anything like that. And even then, I'd probably be it'd be pretty relaxed. Be like, you know, here's some weed. You know.
Yeah.
When you first started getting involved in the indie scene, what was your first impressions of it? You know, because I'm more in the Cincinnati, and if I feel like really adventurous, I go up to Columbus. You know, that's kind of. But you sometimes come down from Cleveland for projects in Columbus, right?
Yes. Yes.
So what's the
Um,
scenes up in Cleveland versus Columbus like, from your
I
experience?
mean, I think it's pretty similar. It's just different people, different places, meeting different people. But yeah, everybody's kind of doing their thing. I think the sets that are more organized and more planned are definitely putting
Mm-hmm.
out the better quality uh products and everything. So it's just a matter of when I first started off, yeah, it was a lot of unorganized, crazy sets, some student films, and actually I got really lucky in my first student film. It was amazing, amazing, like how organized and how everything went really well and the product came out amazingly. So
Was that like a university or college project?
yeah, Kent University. Yeah, it's
Oh,
called
okay, okay.
Powerball.
Powerball. Yeah, I saw a
Yeah.
clip from that actually. I was trying to look for the short film, but it wasn't. You type in Powerball like in YouTube or something,
Yeah.
it pulls up everything but the film. You know.
Yeah, I don't think it's on Vimeo, I think, but I don't know if it's public. I mean, it was doing festival runs for some time
Okay.
and doing really good. Yeah. So, um, but yeah, I don't really see a difference between the two.
This is
Yeah.
pretty
I don't know.
Midwest, north to south.
Yeah.
It's all
It's just,
Midwest.
it's all
Big cities
Midwest.
and
Yeah.
gas stations. That's what we are in Ohio.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes.
well, because well, you mentioned Cleveland. The first thing that pops up is like the recent Superman film. What part of it I
Yeah.
think was filmed in Cleveland. Did you catch any of that, or like what was the hub going around when that was in town?
Yeah. I did a week on set with that one. So on,
Okay, so
as
you're like
background.
background,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah.
What's going on
But
in the background of you know that when the director calls cut, you know, and then the background you got all these extras are like, all right, now we got to twiddle our thumbs until they call action again or something like that. What when the director calls cut, what's going on in the background of with all these extras?
we just talk to each other. We're like, what are you working on? Like it's a really good networking opportunity. I met a lot of cool people on set that I've brought on to other sets now and things like that. So and then the background director comes to us, okay, back to one, wherever you were. We're gonna do that again, or we're gonna do something different, whatever. And we
Mm-hmm.
just get in our places and do it again.
I had there was one guest that was on. Gosh, I forget his name, but it was recent. He was an extra on the set of the Joker 2, you know, and they got to see he was like outside the steps, you know, it was like that large scene in the crowd. And then he was talking about some of the '80s. He's like, some of the '80s are great, some of the '80s are a little stressed, and it definitely comes out on the extras, you know. And so you have that little yin and yang of like, well, this is a great opportunity. Also, it's not always fun.
Yeah. There was that. There was like our background director would direct us one way, we'd do a take, and then you'd hear James Gunn go, "Make her work, tell her to do something," or something. I don't know. And he would be directing the background. Or like the director would come and tell us to do something and we didn't do a take yet. Then he comes over, he goes, "Okay, instead of that, we're gonna do this."
Hmm.
So yeah, and you just do it.
Well, did you meet anybody that was in the crowd that you ended up like working with after? Like, did anything come of that?
Yeah, so I just did a short film. I just did a short film for 21 Days of Horror where I wrote, I filmed it, and I edited it.
Hmm.
I did it all, but I brought on someone that I met on Superman, and then we ended up in classes together too. And she came on and was my prop master. So yeah,
Oh, sweet.
it's cool. And then yeah, I've just come across other people randomly on sets that were on background.
Hmm.
So yeah, one of
You
them
were
was a 48-hour film. I'm like, oh my gosh, we were on Superman together.
I know winter film's coming up, and I just had Joe Palmer on, and you were also on. You were in Rewritten, which is supposed to be filming
Yes.
at this year's premiere. So like, yeah, it's really cool to see how like all these little circles kind of connect. You know,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like
he's
that.
really good.
It's like yeah, that meme of what was it? Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where he's got like the whiteboard behind, you know, and he's got
Yeah.
all the strings running. I'm like, okay, this is who's going there and
Yeah,
everything.
that's one thing is I feel like we're all connected in some way, whether it's Cleveland or Columbus. Like there's so many of us and it's a big community, but it's also very small.
It's a big small.
Like,
It's the biggest community, and it still be a small community. It's like right at that
yeah,
threshold, you know.
yeah.
Well, um, going back to, I want to talk a little bit more about the craft of acting. What was the best piece of direction that you've gotten from a director, and then what was the worst piece that you've gotten that you had to like try to use your imagination to kind of flesh it out a little bit?
Um, Gosh, I don't know if I can really pinpoint anything. I could say in acting class, I mean, I guess the instructor kind of works as a director when you're working on a piece. And it was more like I know sometimes you need to think about a time where you were angry or sad, but I told the teacher, I was like, I don't really like to think about those times. And he's like, well, but you remember how you felt, right?
Hmm.
I'm like, yeah. And so it was just maybe you don't have to go to that place that you were in, but you can remember how you felt and it can come out in that performance of that character in the situation that they're in.
Okay.
So that was amazing. I feel like that really changed a lot for my performance to be more real, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. What about the worst
And
one?
then the worst one, I don't know. I mean, I would say it was someone else's close up, and I was still like, like performing for them. And the director came over and gave me a note, even though the camera was on the other person.
He didn't want to do ADR.
And I was like, well, he wanted to see more of it was weird because the performance, he's like, I want to see the sadness and whatever. And so I'm like, okay, I could do that. And so I did, and then called cut, and I'm like, do you want me to do that again with a camera? And he's like, yeah, yeah, let's do that again with the
Was it a
camera.
more emotional scene? Curiously, where like
Yes.
the chemistry?
Yeah.
Okay, that
Yeah.
kind of makes sense. I there was
Yeah.
one
So
scene
it
I.
was a good note. It was a really good note because I
Mm,
did, I did. He was like, that was great, but I'm gonna turn my camera on now. Because he wasn't running the other camera. And I knew that, and I'm just like, okay, okay. But then I thought, well, maybe he is gonna go over and turn it on. And then then I realized he did not. So did it
mm-hmm.
again. And I feel like
Well,
the second one was better anyway.
there's it reminds me of one time that actually it was from a scene I directed a long time ago from another project, but we were closed up on one guy or on the actress, and it was entirely just facial acting for her. But the person she was responding to was kind of monologuing to himself off camera, which we had already filmed, and it was a very emotional take. And I thought, like, hey, can you run through your lines so that way she has something to go off? And it's like, yeah, okay, yeah, I can do that. And then he starts giving better performances than what was filmed beforehand. I'm like, oh crap. But they were great. Like he went all out, and now I'm like, well, maybe I should play a little bit more trickery next time I have one of these scenes, because I should have like a camera hiding in the bushes or
Yeah.
something like that in order to actually capture this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, sometimes I feel like you get the best things when people don't know the camera's rolling.
That, well, it's
Maybe
like also it's
you're
when they
doing
feel
a
most comfortable.
rehearsal.
It's like they feel the most free. It's especially
Yeah.
sometimes in rehearsal, people give better performances, but when as soon as you call action, they're like they kind of freeze up a little bit, assuming
I,
that they're not the
yeah.
most experienced person.
Yeah. I mean, I still find myself like, I feel like I didn't do it the way I wanted to do it, or
Hmm.
seeing it later. I'm like, that's crazy. I really thought I was doing it a different way.
What was the last
I don't
script
know,
that you
but
said no to, and why?
hmm, I don't, I don't know that I've really said no to a script. Maybe like an idea of a film I may have said no to. Someone pitched me like a musical, and I'm like, I don't do musicals.
I don't
Like,
tap
I never
dance.
did. What's that?
I don't tap dance.
Yeah, I never did musicals in theater as well. Like, I don't really sing. I have no movement. Like, I
Hmm.
don't have a good rhythm. Like, I tried. I did do the whole musical theater camp, and I'm very self-aware of what I'm capable and not capable of, and that was something that
Well,
was
a lot
not.
of ideas also, especially when like ideas and potential projects are floating on the forums, on Facebook, which is where a lot of people get these, gigs from, is that they don't always follow through. That's the one
Yeah,
negative aspect. And so it ends up being like a lot of talk. And,
yeah,
although you have to kind of at least entertain them for a bit, you have to sift through those in order to get to the good ones, that you find the people that you work with, and then they end up recommending you for other projects and stuff like that. But that is, that
yeah,
is, that is a real maybe it's a necessary issue just because it's the internet and you're having to like sift through you know like a lot of people that are trying to actually maybe do something versus the ones that are you know just feeling out whether or not this is something I actually want to do, or they got another
yeah.
script. So how have you calibrated to like filtering through um, like who you like to work with now versus when you first started getting started?
How do I do that? I think it's just like a connection and a mesh, and like how you collaborate with someone. I mean, if you like working with someone, you're going to keep going back to their projects. I don't think there's any, I mean, I think that's just kind of what everyone does. I don't know.
Hmm. How do you maintain presence in a scene, even assuming you're on camera? How do you maintain presence in a scene when you have no dialogue?
Ah, yeah. So that's something else I've been working on in the acting thing. And it was a lot of focus on acting without lines. So just acting and being in the moment. Um, I don't know how to explain how I do it, but I guess it's you're thinking. I guess if you're thinking, and then it comes across your face. So I don't know, if you're in a funeral scene, you just need to give yourself a character. Even if you're just in the background, give yourself a character. Now, don't overdo it, obviously. Just be like,
You will
but
end up on the internet though, especially if it's a big film and there's a background actor that's trying to become center frame. My I mentioned this because like there's a in the second Doctor Strange, there's a actor who is in the cut of the film who is just doing the most B grade performance about reacting to the funeral that's
I think I
going on.
saw that. I
Oh,
feel like
did
I
you?
saw that video. Was it you that posted it, maybe? Did you
I
post it?
don't really post that much except for the
Oh,
podcast, but
okay.
it floated
Mm,
around enough to where like it
yeah.
kind of became a meme for like a hot day or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, and then my my brother has been going through the show House recently, which I already saw. But there was one actor that stepped into the foreground, and I'm like, oh, is he gonna have a line? He's like, no, and then it just cut. And then there's always those extras that are like, this is my time to shine.
Right. Yeah. Definitely. If you are an extra or background, that's just be that. Don't try to be the star. You're there to help build the scene and yeah. And that's amazing. We need background and extras for things, and I will go do background and extra for anyone that I've worked with before and I want to help their film and yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't seek out background extra roles unless they're like for the big things that are paying, you know.
Right.
Um, but yeah, if someone I've worked with is like, hey, we need more people in this restaurant, are you available or whatever, then yeah,
Okay.
I'll help you out.
Is there a character that you think that you would like to do, or you think you would be good at that you haven't had the opportunity to do yet?
Well, since I've been like writing my own stuff, I've been kind of doing that, just writing things that I want to try and do. Like, so my short film, Danny Don't, was like a emotional, and I did a lot more emotional acting in that. That's where I got that note. Well, again, it wasn't like it was a bad note, but bad timing of the note, maybe. But
Right.
anyway, so that and then I wrote Ludella because I wanted to play kind of like that. I wanted to play that character, so yeah, I play the part of Ludella, who was someone who was pretty much grew up in a closet and neglected, and yeah.
Mm.
So if there's a challenging role I want to do, I'm just gonna write it and do it.
What was your experience working on Rewritten?
That was really great. So that was my second time working with that group because we did the 48-hour last summer. We were the carnival one, and
Mm.
then I don't know if you remember, but where the missing people go is what it was called. So yeah, that was really,
Where
really,
do the missing
really
people
great.
go, though? Where do they
Did you
go?
watch? You have to watch. Yeah, that was pretty interesting. And then yeah, and then working on Rewritten, I don't know. It just went great. I like the way they work and what they put out, so that's great.
Do you have any projects that you're looking forward to at the moment that you're signed on to do
Yes. In 1 week we'll be doing Good Luck to Me
in
with
1 week?
Timothy J. Cox. That's something that we wrote together and producing together. It's being
You
directed
did
by
another one
my
with him, right?
um
Or maybe I'm
we
crossing things.
we
Uh,
did a we did I mean that's how I met Tim
or
was
no,
on
it
a
is. It
short
is good luck to
film.
you. It is good luck to you.
Good Luck to
That's what I
Me,
remember
yeah.
saying.
But we
Yeah, good
did
luck to you.
meet on a film when I first started out. Um, it was something that I co-wrote with Allison Marie Rogers called When Eliza Met Penny. We did film it and everything, but it never came out. So maybe it will. I'm working. I have the feature written, and I'm kind of actively working towards possibly getting that produced and filmed. So,
Mm,
but that's how I met Tim, and it sucks because we live like probably almost 4 hours away from each other.
yep.
Same with Patrick. And it's like if they were here or I was there, I know we would be doing so many more things.
How did because you've been doing more writing lately? How has being an actor affected the way you write dialogue?
How has being an actor? Yeah. So I think I write it more. I like to think I write it more how people talk. And then sometimes, as an actor, we get our dialogue and then we still perform it. We don't always say it word for word unless they specifically want us to. But so that's the way I try to write. The dialogue is more like how
Like
people
everyday, just
talk.
sort of dialogue.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
no, doesn't have to be grammatically correct. Like because we don't talk that way. We don't.
Well, it's like because as a writer, it's like there's a really like you imagine sometimes if you're not an actor, which I'm not, when you write something or a piece of dialogue, sometimes you have the tendency, or at least the very least the desire, if it doesn't go unchecked, to embellish it a little bit, and then sometimes it ends up sounding like a very it ends up becoming monologue-y. And then
Yes.
sometimes writers will write lines where you either have to, if it's going to work, you have to nail it very specifically, but you end up pigeonholing the actor into not being able to free themselves in order to actually give a genuine, performance and an authentic, range of expression for how they're going to portray this character. And that is one thing that I've noticed. Is that something that you've come across personally?
Yeah, so I don't really write monologues into what I'm writing. And if I do, then I go back through and I might shorten it down to 3 lines because they could say everything they need to say. Because I just think in real life, how often do you get to give someone a monologue when you're in a moment? Like you get interrupted, something, your phone rings, like all kinds of things happen. But there are so many really great monologues in films that we know there are, and I think that's your point. There is where it makes sense, where this monologue is in, where someone wouldn't interrupt this person, you know.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I don't know that I've had written something with that opportunity where someone would be giving a monologue and not be interrupted. I
What about like as an actor though, that you've been given a line, you're like, oh, I don't know how I'm going to translate this, but I'll do my best.
um yeah, I think I just asked the director, is it okay if I say it this way? You know,
Hmm.
um, yeah, I can't really like pinpoint any specific times, but yeah.
Are you glad that you waited in terms of the time window where you weren't acting to, you know, because you mentioned like you had a family and you wanted to prioritize that. Are you glad in hindsight that you waited until you had a little bit more time to pursue this, or as opposed to, you know, trying to balance those two lives at the exact same time?
Yeah, I think it's possible that I could have gotten burned out on trying to do it or not met the right people or something. I feel like I've met all the right people at the right time now. And yeah. So I don't have any regrets or anything. So I think it's all just working out the way it's meant to work out now.
Do you think that that particular section of life experience influenced the way that, you know, you portray characters or write
Yeah.
dialogue?
Yes, I think so. I think having the life experience is so much more valuable because you can always kind of pinpoint young writers. One of the things that sometimes we talk about is like lots of swear words. You're like, yeah, so that's a new
That's
writer
a
that's in it.
staple of indie filmmaking: drugs and
Yeah,
swear words. We love
lots of
those.
yelling. Um, yeah, so it's definitely been a life experience. Like, and I think when you're young and you get into an argument with someone, you are probably most more than likely yelling and cussing. And then when you get older, it's like these more quieter conversations, and you realize sometimes people are more angry the more quiet they are.
Hmm. Well,
Yeah.
do you think that maybe there's a potential for extra an extraordinary amount of life experience that perhaps hinders the range of expression, because, you know, in our everyday lives we end up, you know, basically filtering out our language or communication styles as well as our behavioral, you know, tendencies, to what works for us, you know, and that gives us, you know, an optimal interaction with the people around us as well as how we go about life. Do you think that there is a downside maybe potentially to that?
Maybe if if you treat every character the same or only with your life experience, that could hinder it, I would think. I think you need to have the ability to see other people's perspectives in order to play these other characters too.
Hmm.
So I could see where you're going with that, um, where that could be. But if you're able to have these other perspectives and be able to see things from other people's side of it, so like, and that does go along with your life experience. When you're older, you can kind of look back and see uh, the other person now and how they might have felt in that situation. And then I think that can help your performance if you're able to do that. But if you're not and you're only focused on only your life experience, it could hinder it. Yeah.
Hmm. Well, going to the interaction between actors and directors, you know, dialogue is one thing, but then there's also blocking. Have you found
Mhm.
it to be the case that sometimes the relationship between when you're saying words versus also the blocking of the scene and how you're saying it within, you know, the space that you're in sometimes end up contradicting one another and you have to sort that out?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I think blocking is hard sometimes. And
It's
then
still
you're
a
like,
form of dialogue too, you know?
yeah, and talking and walking at the same time. Yeah. um, It just depends. I mean, like if I know I'm going to be on set, like I will do practice my lines along with whatever blocking I think the scene calls for. Um, and then as long as I know the character and my lines really well, you can throw anything at me
Hmm.
and I should be able to adapt. I couldn't do that at first, the first year of acting. And what it really wasn't until I started taking these classes and stuff that I could get a lot better at that and be more in the moment. But yeah, sometimes the blocking doesn't make sense, but it
How
does. And
can
then you see
yeah.
the film and you're like, oh, that makes sense. Because it's just weird. Like filming can be weird. It can feel, a lot of things can be unnatural, but look natural on camera.
Is there a particular instance that steps out into your head of like, oh, this felt right on screen, or the way I said it, or the way that I moved, but then you saw the cut and you're like, maybe there's something I should have tweaked that I think would have been given a better final product.
Yeah. I mean, I can't like tell you what it was or whatever, but in the moment, I've had those thoughts like, oh, I wish I would have done XYZ or whatever, you know?
Hmm. Do you think some actors end up over intellectualizing the dialogue when it should just be straightforward? You know, it's like overthinking sometimes is a big issue, and so that's kind of where I'm coming from with this question.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think we can overthink the dialogue and then it doesn't come out genuinely. Yeah.
Hmm.
Or we're trying to hit a word too hard, something like that, like you, but it could just be you.
Oh yeah, no, volume is for. I've noticed at least on the indie level, sometimes with somebody who is new to acting, they'll they will over enunciate a lot of
Yeah.
the dialogue, and then slowly you have to watch the director walk them down gently with verbiage and try to tweak their way out of their tendencies in order to get
Yeah.
a more genuine performance. And so there's there's also a relationship between on set with actors who have been through the ringer, they've done it before, they know what's going on, they're very comfortable, and then you
Mhm.
got the green guy. You know, what kind do you have any experiences like that?
Yeah. I mean, definitely. I think it happens a lot on sets. You can tell who the newer actors are and yeah, definitely. I was
Well,
the newer
what
actor one
because
time too.
chemistry is a big thing, you know, between actors in a scene, and so you know when one part of the engine isn't quite running so well, sometimes that has to get addressed up. How do you? What are the talks like when the director is trying to orchestrate the relationship of the chemistry between these two actors that are affecting the scene?
Yeah, I think a good director just makes that actor feel comfortable and lets them know what they like they're doing and maybe gives them a situation of this is what's happening, or I've heard a director remind an actor, this, you're not on stage, this is real, just play it real. Not
Hmm.
like, and I think that just happens a lot when you see like someone come from theater to film because it's ingrained in you to project. But you don't have to with film. It's great. I actually prefer that.
Do you think you go back to theater?
Oh yeah, I was just in a play. Just like a month ago. So yeah, I still do theater.
Okay.
At least once or twice a year I try to do a show.
When
Whenever it's slow for film, that's a good time to jump on a
you're like,
on
well, I
a
gotta
on
stay busy.
stage.
There's some other things I could be doing, you know.
I mean, it's like this craving. I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to be on stage.
Do
Yeah.
you find the being on stage is more electrifying personally than being in front of the camera?
It is. It really is. There's such a difference in the adrenaline, I think. It's very close though, because when the like, when the cameras start rolling, there's that same adrenaline is rolling and
Mm-hmm.
it almost feels like you're on stage again. Um, but yeah, there's just something about having that live reaction to someone laughing or getting sad or surprised. So yeah, I was in the Elephant Man and I actually got to play three different characters. And then one of my characters kind of played the character in three different ways because I was it's called a pinhead. It's like a circus performer.
Mm.
And so I was the circus performer, but then I was in a nightmare dream sequence as that pinhead and then like a ending death lullaby dream sequence as that same pinhead. And then
Interesting.
also in the play, I was a nurse and then I was a duchess. So it's like these, and if you do it all, you have to be able to do it straight through every
You got to be
night
able to
as
change your
all these
wardrobe
different
very quickly
characters.
too when you're on
Yes,
stage.
yes,
You're
I,
running back and forth between the different sides, and yeah.
yeah, hair,
Uh,
makeup, whatever.
I don't know if I'd ever try a theater, at least in terms of producing it, but it looks like it's an awful lot of fun. You know,
It
it looks like
is, and
it's
you
so
get to
much fun.
spend all that time like doing it, and then the reward of the crowd 6 weeks later.
Hmm. Oh,
Yeah.
and then you get to do it multiple times, over and over again.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
but with shooting, it's just like one and done. You know,
Yeah.
unless there's reshoots. But if there's reshoots, there's problems. It's because there's
Yeah.
problems.
And I don't know. I don't really know anyone that watches their films over and over.
Not too
Like
many.
I,
Not that
yeah,
I
I'm not
know
gonna
of,
sit
anyway.
there and
Maybe you know
keep
of some
watching
people,
my
but
film.
not me.
So, but yeah, it's really fun to be able to live in that character a little bit longer.
Hmm. When you started dipping your toes into writing, how did you know that your script was finished?
Mm. I think once the film is wrapped, or
I mean,
the
that's a
editing is
fair
done.
point. Yeah.
Because I mean, I can still cut lines out. I can move things around. So like, and you can still, if you really want to, you can still add stuff in and do pick up a shoot. I don't know, but I mean, I haven't done that yet because it's like, okay, we're done. But yeah, as far as the script goes, I really think it's probably not done until the whole thing is done.
Because you could
But
constantly be tweaking dialogue, even in the edit.
yeah, I usually feel pretty good by like the fifth draft. And I'm not usually adding or changing anything. It's going back through because the first draft, oh my gosh, it's such a like vomit draft.
Hmm.
Like, and it's like sometime, and I'll let it sit for a couple weeks, come back to it. And I'm like, what was I even thinking? Like, why did I write that?
Oh, grammar. Grammar never, like, there's no point where you will not find, even if you use, like, a software for grammar checking, I will still find things as far as grammar goes that I'm just
Yeah,
like, I've read this 10 times now. How have I not seen this at this point?
right.
It's
Yeah,
awful.
yeah. It's crazy. So yeah, but I mean, I think as far as like the story goes, I think I know the story by the time the first draft is done. I don't usually do outlines. Um, but when I do, I find it a little bit easier. It was funny. I made an entire outline for this a feature film that I'm writing. I forgot that I made the outline, and like I said, I like to let my stuff sit, and then I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go revisit that, and it probably been months later, and I just kind of picked it up, and I brought in the next character, gave them a name, and then I'm like looking through my files, I'm like, oh, I have a whole treatment and outline, and I'm like, oh, I actually already named those characters. Like, but I don't know. I just like writing and seeing where the pages go. And then if I get stuck, then I might need to write some notes off to the side, like, okay, where am I going?
Do you think that you'll end up doing, as time goes on, now that you've kind of had a taste for it, a little bit less acting, a little bit more of the behind the camera work that goes into the narrative storytelling?
I mean, I do like it and I like writing something and then having the full control of how it's going to look and everything. But I
Hmm.
mean, acting is really what I want to do. I mean, I started making films and writing parts for myself because I didn't have as many opportunities or I wasn't booking things or whatever it may be.
Hmm.
And having these things that I've collaborated on with other people or whatever it may be has led to other opportunities for acting. I mean, that's mostly what I want to do is just act. it is it's nice to just show up and do that one job and be done.
Right, right.
But it's also nice being a part of all the pieces and everything too. So, but I want to do more acting than anything else.
But
But I
because
really
you're an
like
actor
writing.
and you were, directing this project that you self-made, did you feel like with the other actors, you had a better line of communication that some directors necessarily don't have because they're not an actor themselves?
Yeah, yeah. So I was able to talk to my actors beforehand and kind of gave them a backstory on their characters. Like how I learned from the one director, I really liked how he did that. So that was something I wanted to do, and just having that theater background too. Like, because all my shorts are. I feel like I know what the bigger story is and what happened before and maybe what happened after, but this is what I'm showing. And so I'm able to tell them, like, before all this, this is what happened in your life. You know, like for the 21 Days of Horror, it was the main character. I'm like, your dad raised you to be a survivalist and self-defense because your mom died on childbirth and you're the only child and this and that. And like, I don't know, I feel like it really portrayed onto the screen of how I
Hmm.
wanted it to by letting them in on what I know.
Are there any areas, other areas of filmmaking that, like behind the camera specifically, that you feel like if you were to learn, you would end up becoming a better actor for it?
Yeah, so that's part of the reason why I started taking like editing classes. I wanted to start directing, so I directed, and I feel like it has made me a better actor and understand more of the importances of why you do the things that the way you do it as an actor. Like,
Hmm.
um, and I know this from editing now, if you're delivering your lines so fast and they all run together, sometimes it's really hard. Like I'm like, oh, I don't like this line in here anymore, but it's really hard to cut it out, or maybe it's really hard to it's not coming across that well and I want to use a different take or whatever it may be. But and like the importance of every take, you're doing the same thing. If you moved on this line or and everyone's moving the same, like how important that is because in editing it's so smooth if everybody's doing the same thing every time.
Oh, like you're gonna run into continuity issues on every single production. Like
Yes.
that's why they hire people specifically for that role.
And I had a continuity script supervisor who was amazing, so that like
She saved your
helped.
butt probably on a couple
She
takes.
was, oh my gosh, yes. It was just, it was, if because I was doing camera and directing, and it's like, I don't even know that yeah, I couldn't have done it without her.
Are there
She was
any
amazing.
lessons from this particular project that you worked on that you think if you were to do another one that you would, either avoid or end up redoing how you did it in the first place?
Um, hmm. I mean, I think I
Or
would
did it
all,
just go so smoothly that it's
I mean,
just the
it
prime baby,
honestly,
an example for all filmmakers?
I mean, I'm happy with it. I thought it went smoothly. Gosh, I think I already took what I learned from the other productions and applied it to
You
that
felt like you
one.
got a head start, kind of.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, gosh, yeah, I don't know.
All right, so I got to see this movie when it comes out, because it sounds like everything just went right. It just went
I'm like
perfect.
so happy with the edit and everything. Like,
Is there music in it? Did you work with a composer?
yeah, Zach Meadows is the composer for it. He did, so I made a little short film with my kids called My Sister's an Alien.
Okay.
And he did the composing on that. He had reached out to me and was like, "Hey, do you have any projects? I want to practice like doing some composing." And I'm like, "Well, I'm going to be doing 21 Days of Horror. You want to do that?" He's like, "Sure." And I'm like, "Well, I'm trying to do some practice films before I do it because I'm going to film it myself and I have never filmed before. So if you want to compose for those, that'd be cool." And he's like, "Yeah." So I ended up only just getting the one practice film in, and that was the My Sister's an Alien, where my kids were the stars of that. And it actually just got accepted into a film festival, the Horror Hotel
Oh, sweet.
Film Festival, because it's like sci-fi. So, um, and it screened at down in Columbus like last week or the week before at the Not a Film Festival, and it was like the first time that they did this event at the OHD Studios. I think that's right.
HUD.
Um,
HUD.
I don't. Oh, wait, I don't know.
HOA.
But yeah, I don't know. So, yeah, I forgot. I lost my train of thought. I don't know
No,
where
you're
I was
good.
going with that.
It's all right. Just think of a good joke, and then we'll censor out the rest. It'd be good.
Yeah.
Why did the chicken cross the road? And we'll never know.
Yeah. So, yeah. So he did the composing. Yeah, we were talking about the composing. So he did the
Hmm.
composing for My Sister's an Alien. I loved it, and I'm like, and I love what he's got. He's finishing that up for my 21 Days of Horror because it's due on Monday, but I've had the edit done now for a few days, so I'm happy with that and just waiting to put the rest of the music in. But
Mm.
yeah,
Do you have
it's
any
I
like there's a lesson that people end up taking away from every single project, no matter how much they, no matter how many projects they go on, they end up like learning something new, which is kind of the glory of it, and that's the kind of the glory of art, really, is that there's always something new, and you kind of end up chasing that high over and over again. But sometimes, once you've done enough or a series of projects, lined up maybe over the course of a year or maybe even a couple of years, that there's a larger encompassing lesson or takeaway that you get from um, all of those things combined. What would you do? You have anything like that when it comes to the last 2 years of acting for you?
yeah, I would say just being more organized and more prepared, whether you're acting in a scene or you're producing the film. Like, so I guess that would be, I mean, I was very, very organized and everything actually, it was weird because I wrote the times that I wanted to start each scene and we started each scene at those times. So I'm not
Mm.
even kidding when I say it went according to schedule, but there was so much preparation that went into that. Like the day before, I was walking through my shots. I set up where my lighting was going to be. I shot it at my house, so that definitely helps. I did test shot shooting. I walked through the script so many times, so I had a good feel for how long it was going to take. But I still think there's still room to be even more organized. Um, but yeah, I think that's the overall big takeaway from every production is being prepared and more organized. I
Do you
don't,
think that's the
I don't
biggest
think,
pitfall for indie filmmakers is a lack of preparation?
yeah, I do. Like,
Mm.
you should just, you want to make a film, just be prepared to make the film. Like, just, yeah. I
I'm
mean,
fortunate
you're
enough to know
always,
that like enough like the people that I've gotten to talk to, they're like, yeah, dude, like back in the day, like we didn't know what we were doing. Now we're very
yeah,
paranoid. We're not even concerned about shooting. We're worried about pre-production, and they end up
yeah,
making great films because of it, and I think it really shows.
yes, yes. And that's kind of what I was saying earlier. And that just comes with experience. The people that I worked with where it was unorganized and not prepared. They're more organized and more prepared now on the stuff that they're doing. So,
Mm.
everybody's learning. So I don't like hold that against anyone because the first film I directed, we went way past the time I thought we were going to. And so I just took away what didn't work on that and try to solve that problem ahead of time. Think about everything that could possibly happen.
You
Like
see,
I
that's
had
probably the biggest
someone,
problem with indie filmmakers. Yeah, is definitely organization, because there's a lot of artists and there's a lot of artists, that like to they think they have more time than they do, and because they're
yeah,
very very creative, they want to explore as many options as possible because it does scratch that itch and it scratches that high a little bit. And so, you got some directors that are walking around the set just constantly scratching the walls for ideas, and then meanwhile the DP is like, "Are we ready to go? I've been ready to go for like 15 minutes over here. We got like 30 more shots to go through here, buddy."
yeah. Um, I mean, I think all the directors I've worked with, they have a vision of what they want and the shots that they want. Um, I mean, it's maybe when I first started out and I was working with other deep filmmakers that were just starting out as well as
It
more of
happens more
that.
with
Like, so
first
what
time
do I want to
people.
do? What
Yeah.
do I want to do next? But like just knowing, and I think the best is whenever like you're filming something and then somebody does something and it just sparks an idea for another shot. Just get it. I don't
Well,
know.
Heather, thanks for coming on the podcast. I appreciate it. It was great getting to know you finally, because this was actually set up for quite some time, like probably
Yeah,
like a
yeah,
month, maybe a month and a half or something like that.
yeah.
It was great. But thanks for coming. Do you have any final thoughts you want to leave with the audience?
No, I can't believe that was already an hour.
I know. That's how it
That was
goes.
so much fun. No, thanks for listening.
All right. Like, comment, subscribe, all those things. I love you.